scary St. Patrick's Day stories. There are holidays for giving gifts, giving thanks, holidays for love, and then there is St. Patrick's Day. For many drinkers, March 17 means incapacitating doses of cheap, green beer jostling through giant crowds for a poorly poured Guinness at 8 in the morning, novelty shots, jumbo-sized shamrocks, and shrunken "Kiss Me, I'm Irish" t-shirts. And telling ghost stories by the fireplace isn't really the thing on St. Patrick's Day as we know it. But there are scary stories that have happened on this day. Here are the true scary stories that will give you goosebumps. Number 1. The Haunted Pub. As many may know, St. Augustine is touted as the nation's oldest city, and although this is only semi-true, the place is ancient and absolutely loaded with unexplained phenomenon. I moved there to open a pub for a man for whom I'd previously worked for. The pub was called Lynch's, and it was in the historic Monson Motor Lodge. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was arrested on the steps of the Monson during a protest in 1964. Since the gig was meant to be temporary, I was given lodging in the Monson Motor Lodge, on which property the pub was located. Although my life has been filled with paranormal encounters and high strangeness, it never occurred to me that the place may be haunted. I went straight to work, hiring and training staff, and working seriously long hours. One night after close, I sat at the bar with the bartender and the server, tossing down a pint or two. The bartender was out of smokes and out of luck because neither the server nor I smoked. His last resort was a huge ashtray in the office that was full of butts. Finally, the bartender got that desperate and announced that he was going to scavenge from the ashtray. The office was a small room at the back of the building and had 2 doors. The first one, which the bartender used, was accessible through the kitchen. The other was at the far end of a large room, directly in our line of sight as we sat at the bar. Seconds after the bartender had disappeared into the kitchen, he came bursting through the second office door in a panic. "Where did she go?" he shouted across the large room towards us. "Who?" we asked. "The woman in the green dress." We started to wonder what was in his drink as he frantically ran around the pub looking for this woman. We had a clear shot to the door and assured him that he was the only one who had passed through it. Once we got him calmed down, he explained that as he stepped into the office and turned on the light, he saw a woman in a green dress with a large hoop skirt going out through the other door. So certain was he of what he saw that he was too afraid to go back and complete his quest for cigarette butts. He made us go get the ashtray so that he could calm his nerves. The next day, I relayed this experience to one of my servers, who said, "You do know this place is haunted, don't you?" "No, I hadn't even considered it." She asked me, "Have you ever gone into the bathroom and seen the paper towels unrolled?" I said that I had seen this many times and was often confused about who was doing it, since I always did a bathroom check at closing. Many times I would go in and find a huge pile of paper towels leading from the dispenser into the trash can below. Well, it wasn't a human prankster. She went on to describe that she had done an opening check one morning, and when she entered the bathroom, not only was the pile of paper towels in the trash, but the lever on the dispenser was furiously going up and down, controlled by an unseen hand. There was another girl who refused to go into the bathroom alone, because she heard the toilet paper dispenser in the other stall rattling loudly when she was the only one in the room. Although these incidents were curious and unsettling, the event that really terrified me took place in my hotel room. One night, I had left the door cracked so that my cat could get back in after his evening stroll. I was lying in bed with no lights except the TV when the other side of the bed gave way to what felt like the weight of a human. Although the weight was greater than my cat, so great that I actually rolled towards the indentation. I naturally assumed that he had jumped onto the bed and made a mental note to cut down on his food portions. When I reached over to pet him, he was not there. Finding this strange, I got up and turned on the light to see where he had gone. My cat was not in the room. I went to the door and called out for him. He always came running when called, and this time he trotted back from the far side of the parking lot. It was physically impossible for him to have jumped onto the bed, back down again, and to have gone that far away in the time it took me to get up and go to the door. This left me with visions of an intruder who must have broken in and hidden under the bed in waiting for me to come back. I finally got up enough nerve to look under the beds, only to find nothing. Realizing that I was sharing my room with an unseen tenant, I moved to the other bed and stayed up all night long watching TV, too afraid to go to sleep. I moved out of that place as soon as I could. Number 2. The Haunted House in Bride Street. Mr. Molan was left a widower, with the custody of several children, some of them young girls, and very soon after their mother's death, steps began to be heard upstairs and downstairs, and primarily into the nursery. Great alarm and fright prevailed, and the maid and the children appealed to the master of the house, who pooh-poohed their fears. They suspected, however, from his own careworn looks, that he also had received unpleasant visits. The poor children began to lose the natural cheer of youth and to be found with scared looks, especially towards night. And little wonder, for steps were constantly heard pacing across the nursery, and sometimes they would be aware from the low sound of breathing and sighing that someone was standing beside their beds. One night, when the maid was following Mr. Molan upstairs from the cellar, she distinctly saw a small man with a red cap on following close to her master's steps and holding him by the skirts of his coat. This was the only appearance, and it was the more remarkable as all were of opinion that it was the spirit of the mother, who was showing her anxiety for her daughters in this disagreeable way. At last, as Anne O'Neill, the maid, was one evening sitting at the kitchen table, employed at drying and drawing out laces and frills with her Italian iron on the table before her, and her master sitting on the other side, and smoking. He actually came to the kitchen for that purpose. She was sensible of the presence of her late mistress passing close by her in the direction of the fire, and could distinguish the words said in a whisper, "Urchin, urchin, urchin." "Oh, master," said she, "did you hear that?" "What, you fool?" said he. "Oh, my mistress' ghost passing by me and moaning. It's all imagination," said he, but he spoke in a vexed tone. "Don't encourage the children in these nonsensical whims." That night, the eldest daughter, who commonly seemed in more terror than her sisters, was sleeping next to Anne O'Neill. She was all at once wakened up, became conscious of some awful presence. A cold sweat burst out all over her, and she tried to cry out, but was not able to. In this state, she received 3 severe slaps on the shoulders and fell faint. The father, hearing in the morning of what had happened, made up his mind to abandon the house as soon as he could, and in a few weeks was settled in Dorset Street. The harassment or warning, or whatever it was, did not follow the family to their new residence. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you will be the first to know when we upload a new video. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next one.